The philosophy behind the system. The Tipo is being launched onto the market with a highly innovative technological content. The electrical system is proof of this. Development is manifest in concrete terms on this new Fiat through the simplification of the cable loom under the dashboard. In other words, the size of certain cables has been reduced, and their more practical arrangement makes them easily accessible. The reduction in the size of the cables has been made possible by the design logic for the entire system. Namely, that the control circuits for the various functions have now been split into an energizing circuit, which, starting from the steering column switch unit and the other switches, transmits low current signals to the control unit, and a power circuit, which controls the switching on of the various services from the control unit via the relays or electronic control units. In this arrangement, the control unit represents the center on which all the vehicle functions depend. There are two different control units for the Tipo, according to the version. One for the standard version, and one for the DGT version. The latter incorporates the electronic control units for the check panel, central locking system, electric windows, windscreen wiper, rear screen wiper, and hazard warning lights. Both the control units are larger in size compared with those that we're already familiar with, and they're fixed under the dashboard on the driver's side by a double flip-over mechanism. The control unit is equipped with a special pair of pliers which simplifies the operations of removing and replacing fuses. By undoing the two front fastening screws, it's possible to reach the connectors for any fault diagnosis or necessary repairs. Let's now return to the system which, thanks to its design, has allowed the adoption of simplified solutions in the construction of the various controls, bringing considerable advantages in terms of reliability. The controls are all concentrated on the new two-lever steering column switch unit. The latter, which has been designed with a modular system to facilitate repair operations, comprises a central support casing housing 5 subgroups which are completely independent from one another. The left lever for controlling lights, the right lever for controlling services for rear screen and windscreen, hazard warning light switch, ignition switch, steering lock barrel. The removal of the unit does not present any special problems. In fact, once the steering wheel and the 2 steering column covers have been removed, the 6 connectors which link the actual unit to the vehicle system have to be removed. Then, loosen the center bolt and remove the 2 shear bolts. This operation should be carried out, taking care not to damage the unit. The electrical system. The car's electrical system, on all versions, is subdivided into 6 main groups or looms. Engine compartment, dashboard crossmember, heater, left side member, tailgate, and right side member. The DGT version is equipped with the following extras compared with the standard version: electrical windows, central locking, check panel, and liquid crystal electronic type instrument panel. There are 4 additional cable looms on the DGT version: left front door, right front door, left rear door, and right rear door. To sum up, the cable looms inside the car differ for the standard and DGT versions in as far as there are more services to be connected on the latter. The engine compartment cable loom, on the other hand, always varies according to the engine size and type. Now, let's take a closer look at the main groups or cable looms. Engine compartment. The engine compartment cable loom, as has already been stated, branches out according to the various versions or trim levels. The picture, however, confirms its functional layout, making it accessible for repair operations. The 2 earth points for this cable loom, which cover the services located in the front section of the vehicle, are situated in the engine compartment. One of these earths is located on the left side member. And the other is on the right side member. Dashboard cross member. This group has always been the most complicated and the most difficult to reach. On the Tipo, the size of this cable loom has been considerably reduced, as stated previously, thanks to the new philosophy behind the system, and above all, thanks to the relocation of the actual cable loom, now completely separate from the dashboard cover, being fixed to the supporting cross member. This solution makes repairs to this part of the system easier through the simple removal of the instrument panel and the complete fascia cover. In order to carry out this operation, first disconnect the battery, and then, to remove either the digital or analog instrument panel, proceed as follows. Undo the grill for the left speaker. Remove the plate positioned at the right end of the panel. The panel can now be easily removed by loosening the 4 screws fixing it to the dashboard cover. If the dashboard cover has to be removed for more exacting repairs on the cross-member cable loom, refer to the Bodywork audiovisual program where this operation is dealt with in detail. There's an earth for the services located, for the most part, in the dashboard, which can be found on the supporting cross member near the control box. An additional cable connected to the bodywork avoids unreliability due to the fact that the dashboard supporting cross member is of the inserted type. all versions of the Tipo are wired for the fitting of a radio. As far as this is concerned, the cables are particularly easy to locate and reach. In actual fact, the radio console has cables at the rear to be connected to the radio itself, as well as an aerial cable, which is connected to the special fixing terminal on the roof of the car. If the grille at the sides of the dashboard is removed, the cables from the speaker can be found at once. Heater unit. This cable loom is connected to the dashboard crossmember, although it's separate from it on account of the connection shown in the picture. This makes it possible to remove the heater unit, complete with all the electrical connectors, if either electrical or mechanical repairs have to be carried out. In this instance too, the removal of the entire unit is very straightforward and easy to perform. The unit is completely independent from the dashboard. However, its removal includes removing the two coolant circulation pipes in the engine compartment, removing the passenger side compartment under the dashboard, removing the tunnel cover. Bear in mind that the seats have only been removed for the purpose of this film. And lastly, the removal of the cover under the dashboard on the driver's side. After this, the unit can be easily removed by loosening the 4 fastening screws, 2 at the bottom and 2 at the top, only one of which is shown in the picture. The main service for this cable loom is the fan. One of the many new features on the Tipo is the ease of removal and, of course, refitting of the fan, thanks to the innovative bayonet system. Next to the fan are the speed adjustment resistors, fixed directly to the inside of the duct by a special mounting. Left side member. This cable loom is completely separate from the dashboard cross member. Almost all the connectors are connected to the control box. This cable loom, in the main, supplies the devices in the center and at the rear of the car. We'd like to point out the existence of the courtesy light push buttons in this cable loom, which on the Tipo take the shape of a rubber device fixed on the lower part of the center pillar. Being waterproof, it ensures maximum reliability and accurate operation. The earth for the left side member cable loom is found near the left rear wheel arch. Tailgate. This cable loom is connected to the left side member and supplies all the devices on the tailgate. The earth is shared with the left side member. Right side member. This cable loom is connected to the dashboard cross member on the right-hand side. It supplies the cable loom for the right rear door as well as the right courtesy light push button. Door cable looms. The 4 door cable looms are subdivided as follows: front, right and left, rear, right and left. These cable looms, particular to the DGT versions, naturally supply the door services. It should be stressed that on the Tipo, the services for all the doors are fixed to a single cross member. This makes repair operations easier. The push buttons for the electric windows are the sensor type, with limited travel, and they light up when the side lights are on. While we're on the subject of doors, let's take a look for a moment at the locks, which also constitute a new feature. The front locks, connected to the system by 2 connectors, include a geared motor for locking the door, a micro switch to allow locking and unlocking, and a micro switch to signal to the check panel that the door is not properly shut. The rear locks, on the other hand, are only connected to the system by a single connector. They're child-proof and do not have a micro switch to allow central locking. The aim of this film is to illustrate the development and the composition of the Tipo's electrical system and to provide guidelines on the repair operations for the main system components. The technical department can supply the following supports with the aim of making the diagnostic and repair operations on the vehicle as efficient as possible. A service manual, 2 perspective posters, and a new manual for the fault diagnosis of the various functions. As far as the section in the service manual on the electrical equipment is concerned, it's similar to that for other models. It contains the electrical features for the various services, wiring diagrams, and illustrations for removing and refitting the more important connectors. Because of the considerable success of the chroma posters, the technical department decided to do the same for the Tipo. 2 posters were also created for the Tipo: a general diagram in perspective and a dashboard cable loom diagram in perspective. Both posters refer to the 1580cc DGT version with electric windows, centralized locking, and check panel. The posters are divided into 2 parts. The top half accurately shows the cable routing. The bottom half shows all the connectors in perspective. These posters use a coding system similar to the chroma posters. Each square showing a connector also includes coding regarding the ID number. This number corresponds to the service manual wiring diagram. Name of the connector. Coordinates to help in locating connectors in the diagram above, and consequently on the car. Finally, the colors of the cables connected and their destination. We'd like to point out that the posters are not to be used on their own for fault diagnosis, but in conjunction with the main wiring diagrams. With this in mind, the technical department has, for the first time, produced a special manual which contains guidelines for fault diagnosis of the Tipo's electrical system. This new manual contains the following for each individual function: a brief description of the function and 2 views of the control unit with the appropriate components for the function highlighted. The main wiring diagram for analyzing the system and a diagram for locating the components. 1 or more descriptive sections with appropriate diagrams in the logical order of problem cause and remedy. Let's now see how to make use of the various supports by following an example. Let's suppose that we're confronted with a problem in the central locking system. To be more specific, when the left front lock is operated, the right does not open or close. The fault may stem from the lack of power supply to the right door lock geared motor, or the presence of a defect inside the actual lock. In order to ascertain what the problem can be attributed to, we learned from the fault diagnosis manual that the check should start from connector 58. Having located connector 58 in the bottom part of the poster, and having found the coordinates, D13 in this case, connector 58 can be found in the wiring diagram and consequently on the car. Using a lead polarity connector, which is part of the universal kit for the PR01, the voltage can be checked by placing terminals H and G on the dashboard crossmember female connector. When the left front lock is activated, one of the 2 LEDs should come on. If neither of the 2 LEDs on the device lights up, check the continuity of the cables between the connector and the central locking control unit. If one of the 2 LEDs comes on, check the lock and the motor for connector 58 by inserting an ohm meter between cables G and H. The reading should not be 0 or infinity. If the reading is 0 or infinite, remove the panel and check the continuity of the cables between connector 58 and the lock. With the reading at 0, check the lock motor. If it is not intact, the only conclusion to be drawn is that the lock is faulty and must therefore be replaced. In conclusion, we'd like to remind you that all the operational sequences shown in this video are described and illustrated in detail in the fault diagnosis manual. The electrical equipment on the new Tipo confirms Fiat's leading position in the development of technology.